Hey, everyone out there. It's Joe and Darren with Urban Hillsides Real Estate with an important edition of Real Estate Reality. And Darren, I guess the reality is that the rules change August 17th, right?
The real estate world, at least, for sure, in a big
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, guys, we are going to do a speed round, and we're going to assume that you know what's going on. But we're going to talk about buyer broker compensation in less than 10 minutes. We're going to give you the story quickly, concisely, and simply. And the only caveat we put on that is that probably in a month after August 17th, we're going to have an improved version of this. So, again, as things change, we'll change and we'll get the information out to you. So, all right, 10 minutes and counting. Let's see what we can do here. Uh, all right. So, again, guidelines and overview for buyer broker compensation. So this is the new agreement. Um, Final commission will be negotiated with offer approval, including who pays and how much. And this is a shift from agent to agent advanced agreement to consumer-centric compensation approval as a net proceeds evaluation. Price minus concession. Darren, you want to break that down a little bit?
Sure. A lot of the stuff we've read is just, it seems complicated and layered. We just really want you to walk away having an overall sense of what's really happening. And this is
Exactly.
stating that final commission negotiated with the offer, no matter how much advanced conversation you have about who's getting paid what. The broker compensation agreement, which will be required to be signed by everyone prior to viewing property, will ultimately set the tone for a final approval at the end, rather than an advanced agreement from agent to agent. And that is the ultimate goal of the NAR agreeing to these adjustments.
Great. So, and in its most simplest terms, we broke it down into three statements. So, number one, an agreement is required prior to viewing any property, if you're a buyer. Number two, we will request industry standard compensation and request the seller to cover the full cost of that compensation. And then finally, number three, agree on a maximum amount you are willing to pay us if the seller will not cover our fee. So again, that is just in a nutshell what this is about. Any comments there, Darren?
Yeah, so agreement required prior to viewing any property. This is a requirement that is now being enforced by NAR and throughout the country. And that agreement includes two components. It's an agreement to have an agent representing you. It's also an agreement on a compensation. Now, there will be variables there. There could be a single property agreement. There could be a lengthy agreement. There could be a compensation agreement that gets altered at a future showing. So there are variables, but an agreement has to be signed in advance. And the basic understanding is that rather than an agent being paid a commission agreed upon in advance by an agent, is that there will be compensation from buyer to agent. But I'm sure in all cases that I know we will as agents, we will then request the seller to cover that full cost of the agreed upon amount. Now, number three, my last comment will end up being that this is how we will approach this. There could be an alteration depending on how a seller responds. And we're just putting that out there up front as we think as a realistic direction that things could go. But it'll be finalized at the end with the signing of an accepted contract.
Okay. All right. So we've broken it down a little bit further. Darren, I'll start with the first sentence here. An agreement must be signed prior to showing any property. And this is an NAR requirement, National Association of Realtors.
Right. Number two, the agreement is the The amount agreed on for services is the maximum amount that can be received by an agent, no matter who pays that compensation. That's a relevant point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Number 3, our fee is blank percentage of the purchase price. This is the amount you agree to pay us.
Right. And then following up on that, a concession from the seller to you, the buyer, will be requested on every offer submitted to cover 100% of that fee.
Right. Okay. And then number 5, the maximum amount that you are willing to pay us directly if the seller accepts any number less than the agreed upon percentage is blank.
Right. And this is our dialogue with you, not industry specific, but in regards to communicating with you and doing our best to represent you, we certainly, as a buyer, want to minimize your cost.
Right. Okay. Number 6, possible seller responses to an offer. It's all negotiable. A, seller agrees to pay the full concession for our services. Your cost is 0. And then B, seller offers a lesser amount or even 0. And then number 1, negotiate a final sale price, including concessions. Number 2, a request can be made that the minimum amount be added into the purchase price to avoid this being an out-of-pocket expense at closing.
Yeah, and that will be discussed on a case-by-case basis, but that's a very relevant point. Yeah. So, all right, number 7, the last element, possible outcomes. If the offer is accepted with concessions that are requested from the seller, again, you will owe us, the agent, nothing. The seller will be covering that cost, similar to the way it's always been. And then the other possible outcome B, a counter of some kind is most likely on almost all offers, whether that be terms or price, but now also including concessions. That becomes part of the final negotiation. All details become part of the final negotiation, and concession is just one more component then that's packaged into that final acceptance that you provide.
Right. And then back to being consumer-centric, you, the buyer, will need to approve any concession prior to any acceptance of any offer. So,
again, and that's it.
You're in control of this. Yeah.
You are in control. Right. We've established, that we're going to ask for an industry amount. We're going to request that be compensated by the seller. And if it's anything less than what the full amount that the seller will compensate us for, then you'll have to approve it at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So again, in its most simplified terms, number 1, an agreement is required prior to viewing any property. Number 2, we will request industry standard compensation and request the seller to cover the full cost. And then 3, agree on a maximum amount you're willing to pay us if the seller will not require or not cover our fee.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it from our side. Darren, anything else to put on a point on that? Anything else?
No, we've covered it, man.
Great. Guys, if you have any questions about this, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you in a month, and we'll refine this a little bit further. All right. Have a great one. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.